Okay, well, hello everyone. I feel a little bit like the high school valedictorian here, trying to sum up 2 days of talks from high-flying people from around the world running multinational corporations. And here I run a little company in London, Ontario. So who am I to follow in their footsteps? But here I am. I'm one of those small, medium-sized enterprises that we keep talking about, a SME kind of person. And one of those that people say, like Scott, for example, was saying, you see a high rate of failure in companies in that commercial transition phase. Or Aaron was saying, well, it's easy to spin off a company, but there's really a high rate of failure in trying to get them to succeed. Or Anne was saying that more than 56% of companies in Canada, medical device companies in Canada, are companies like mine, less than 25 people. We have about 21 or 22 at this point in time. So really, you can see what I'm trying to do is take a very narrow perspective on these last couple of days and kind of boil it down to the here and now, because that's the world I live in. It's what does it matter now? How do I get to the next step? And what's the step beyond that? So business planning, yes. All of the issues we talk about around national policy and procurement and so on, those things are important and very important. And I'm glad we're having these kinds of debates on it. But in the very short term, in terms of companies like mine, in terms of our community, we also have to focus on the here and now. What can we do right now to move ourselves along? So I'm going to have part of that piece, and my other colleagues at the table are doing a good job of driving our community medical device strategy along down this path as well. So the other thing we've heard from this 2 days, we've heard many points of views and agendas. So we've got industry, a couple of different types of industry, 3 different types, small. We've got the medium size, like Trudel, national company and local success story. We've got the multinationals, the 3Ms, the GEs, et cetera. And there's the academics. So they have different focus we heard from industry. More of a student focus. We talked about ruffled feathers yesterday, for those of you that recall that talk. And the focus of the academics is really to graduate their students and to write papers and maybe file some intellectual property. There was a whole bunch of talking around how to mine intellectual property and how to commercialize it. And that was all a very good discussion and somewhat relevant to companies like mine as well. Another point of view, agency points of view, so we've got levels of government in the mix here too. We've got federal government, provincial, we even got the city level of government, and we've got nonprofit organizations like Tech Alliance and London Economic Development Corporation here at the table, who have a role in trying to stimulate our economy, medical technology devices. And so they add to the mix, the noise that goes on, and make each one of these makes it a little more difficult to get consolidation or coordination. We talked about healthcare providers. They have their own point of view. They need to look at managing outcomes. So these are the doctors in the hospitals. They need to care for their patients in the best possible way. You've got the healthcare institutions who are worried about buying in cost-effective ways and how do you balance value. The service providers are in there trying to add value to the medical device companies and the hospitals. And you got some financial investors looking for a return on investment. So what we've been talking about over 2 days has been how do you coordinate all those people? And actually from my point of view, my very narrow industry point of view, I can ignore most of that for my talk. So focusing on local then, we do have a lot of good examples here in terms of, I call them local anchors. So Western, I have it down there as twice because they anchor us both in terms of a source of expertise and also a buying source. They purchase things and work with us. Fanshawe College, great students come out of there, people who actually do things with theory and they apply things and they build things and create things, all very important to a company like mine. Trudel Medical, of course, national success story. 3M, NRC, IMTI. So IMTI is Advanced Integrated Manufacturing Technology Institute. They play with lasers and a whole bunch of neat stuff, a great technology anchor. So then beyond that, we have C-Star. We've heard a little bit about them. remote surgery, surgical training. They're really a technology pillar in our community. London Health Sciences, teaching hospitals, incredible array of talent there, and the imaging centers that we heard being started up by Aaron, and also a lot of imaging technology has existed already here in London. And then we have the supporting organizations, so local level, LADC, Tech Alliance, World Discoveries. It's an offshoot of Western to stimulate their own companies from the researchers, and of course ICHIL, the organizers of the conference. So that's at the local level. And then we've got the provincial level, OCE, HTX, Mars. I'm not sure whether they've moved to federal level yet or not. And then Ontario Chamber of Commerce tries to play in there too to help encourage exports and all that sort of stuff. And federal level, it's just an acronym city here. National Research Council, Industrial Research Assistance Program, the SHRED claims, MyTax. So there's a whole array of resources, and it comes as a challenge for industry to try to figure out how can these resources be brought together in a way that we can actually start doing stuff. We can make stuff, we can sell stuff, because that's really our challenge. It's nice to have these theories and discussions and so on, but in the end we do have to make stuff and actually earn some money. So, of course, in town we do have a variety of companies like mine, and that's also some benefits, some synergies there. Earlier or yesterday actually, the gentleman from Mars was saying you need a team of resources to get companies going. And I think as a community, and most communities in fact, not just London, but all communities aspire to be a team. Because as I mentioned earlier, we have all those resources, all those ingredients around, and they just need to be brought together in some kind of organized and cohesive manner. And that's really part of our community medical device strategy, as you'll hear about more as we go on. So we do have resources here for business planning and startup. Tech Alliance does a great job of that. We got Western, academic excellence and research. We have some product prototyping capabilities through places like IMTI and at Western. We do have angel investors here, believe it or not. I know there was a big discussion on finance and VCs and the death of the VC concept. But there are angel investors out there, and we have a track record of actually organizing some of those investors to get companies like mine off the ground and successful. And beyond that, we have a group of willing doctors at the hospitals who will test ideas for you, maybe invest. You can prevail upon their good graces to start with, and then you can work from there to show them some more tangible rewards as you go on. One example at University Hospital, I don't know if you all know this, but the electrophysiology folks there are world class. George Klein and Raymond Yee and all his colleagues, they're ranked number 3, 4 in the world in terms of delivery of healthcare. Very impressive resource for London, and we're lucky to have people like that. And then beyond that, we do have the ability for clinical trials here, and more importantly, at the early level, the preclinical, we have test facilities to test those products before they get to humans. So we're a team, but we can always do more, is kind of the bottom line. And you can say that for any community. So the question then becomes, how do you do more? So continuing to work on these silos we've all been talking about. We got the academic silo, the industry silo, the clinical, the university. How do you merge those given the different objectives? And that's an ongoing source of tension. I think that we all have to recognize that there's some give and take here. It's kind of like a marriage, you know, you give 80%, you expect 20. And it comes down to the same sort of thing. Not that I'm a marriage counselor or anything like that. But there are barriers to these kinds of negotiations. The red tape issue is a big one. We've all complained about that, at least all of us from industry. Ted Hewitt says, well, industry's difficult to deal with. We say university's difficult to deal with. But the bottom line is university, academia, they are trying. And they are trying to work with the business side. Sure, different parts of the world, it's easier some places than others, but a lot of it depends upon the actual person that you work with. And I have to say, I've got call Ted there in brackets for the red tape. And if you have red tape at the university that you're trying to get through, Ted Hewitt, who spoke on one of the panels yesterday, he's a VP of research there. He does a great job of boiling down, okay, exactly what is the issue and putting some practical focus to things. So, as I say, the university is trying. I have Gord there in brackets too, and Gord's probably wondering what the heck have I have his name up on the screen for. However, Gord happens to work at the MTI facility, so Integrated Manufacturing Technology Institute. You've heard from Gord. He plays with tissue creation, with molds. Some of his colleagues play with lasers, and they do wonderful stuff, which is all very useful to the medical device industry. We have some access to those facilities now, but I would suggest that one of the things we should work on as a community, not just us as a community, because this is a federal institution, but we need to improve industry access to those facilities there. As an example, at Western, they have a nanofabrication lab. Our people at SciSense, my people, not me, can walk in there and fabricate silicone microsensors. And we do that. That's part of our product line. So we can go in there and we can create product. We don't require a researcher to do it. We don't need a grant. We don't need a student. We do all that sort of stuff. We're developing longer-term technologies. But when we want a product, when it's on the critical path, we need to go into those facilities and do the work ourselves with our own people. So we get our people trained on the equipment and we use it. And that's a great model for Western. And I would really like to urge us to find a way to get access to this federal facility in the same kind of level. I was chatting with Gord earlier. It's possible in certain ways if you put your tongue on the right side of your face and so on. But there's more work to be done. That would benefit all of us in Canada because that is a national facility. So overall, we need to improve. Some of these are suggestions on how to do that. We've also heard about the need for ongoing physician involvement in companies. The surgeon has to be involved throughout the product development phase, and there has to be this encouragement of innovation that happens within our system. So my perspective is usually when I come to these sort of things is when can I get back to work? I need to make stuff, I need to sell stuff, and that's what pays the bills. So part of that is where can I get it made? I talked about IMTI and Western and all these other sort of things. And how much is it going to cost me? And how come I have to pay more than this other guy over there, the professor or whatever? So I'm talking about industry rates for using academic facilities. And then beyond that, I'm looking for product champions and length of time for development. So these are areas which, as a community, any community can work together to help companies, those small and medium-sized companies, really push forward to the next level of operations. By making these points easier, we can get more quickly to that next level, and that's what allows us to bridge this funding gap. Because everything we heard about in this meeting was there's a funding gap. We have friends and family, you have angel investors, and then you have VCs. And we've heard about the VCs pulling back and leaving this funding gap, and John talks about how HTX is in the breach here, helping with that, and that's all great. But in that midst of that funding gap, what the companies are trying to do is create prototypes. And they need to provide proof of concept. In order to get the next funding level, they have to build stuff, tangible stuff, show that it works, have test sites. All that takes money, time, and more importantly, facilities. So money is great, but if you still can't get the darn thing made, or can't get a certain part made, then that's really not going to help you. So again, my suggestion is as a group, we try to focus more on getting these prototyping facilities together and under one roof, or at least a single point of access. And that'll help break some of this funding gap and help us grow to that next level. So I mentioned the fabrication facilities at Western. So these are examples of rapid prototyping facilities. These are things that we've cobbled together in our business, and we've fought long and hard for them at various times to get access to them. And now, fortunately, other companies can follow in our footsteps to do that. I didn't say we break all the ground here, but the fact is these processes are becoming more and more accessible here in London. So going forward, my points are make it easier. We need to cut the red tape. Realize that companies in a small size, 25 people or less, are short of time. We never have enough people to do everything we need to do. We never have enough money, and we're really trying to make every dollar count. So if we can all recognize that as we go forward, and let's get our products made, let's get them tested in real life, and move forward, then that will really help our sector grow and be for the benefit of all. So, we talked about, was it 4 days to negotiate an NDA, those kinds of things where you're trying to negotiate agreements. You've got a fleet of lawyers on the other side with a big company or a big university, and some small company like us is trying to figure out what all this legalese means in the background. So those sort of things make it difficult. And then just the last point there on a slide I just wanted to mention is for the education system, this is a longer term thing, but the professors at the universities, for example, they're focused on their students. They want their students to graduate, their PhD students. They want them to write groundbreaking papers, do lots of research. I would suggest also, though, that it's important for students to learn how to make stuff and to do things that are commercially relevant as well. So a balance on the education process, more of a balance going forward, might be helpful there as well. So bottom line, improved innovation comes from helping small, medium-sized companies move through the process from idea through prototype, testing, and trials. Those ingredients are here in London and in other communities as well. And those communities that make this process as easy and quick and seamless as possible are the ones that are going to grow the fastest. So bottom line is, as a community of London, I'd say there's many national, provincial efforts in progress now, a lot of great discussion over here over the last couple of days. But as a community, we can't wait. Let's not wait for national things, good things to happen. Let's lead the process here instead. Thank you.